Hi everyone. I'm excited to be here this morning to lead this holiday workshop entitled Merry and Bright. If you're joining me live, I hope that the things I share spark some creativity in you, provide some ideas as you're maybe gathering with loved ones this holiday season. If you're hosting any parties or just having that extra downtime when kids are out of school, perhaps these crafts are some ideas you can use and connect more deeply with your loved ones. So I'm going to dive right in to the 3 different crafts. So our first one is entitled Ultra Bright or Ultra Shiny Designs. And the idea is you have either black construction or black drawing paper, cookie cutters, which we have tons of, most likely, right? Our holiday cookie cutters. Here's a gingerbread, Christmas tree, stars, ornaments. I have some other like flowers and circles. It doesn't have to always be holiday themed. I have a heart I'm going to use. So you need the cookie cutters. And when I created these with Liam, I actually made templates first. I traced the cookie cutter on cardstock and cut them out. But I'm going to show that you don't have to do that either. There's another option. So I will demonstrate both ways so you can see how it works. So I'm going to go ahead. I have if you have oil pastels, they are the best medium for this craft. They will show up the brightest. But if you don't have oil pastels, all your brighter crayons will work just fine on black paper. So you can use those. I'm going to start by tracing the outside of the cookie cutter, and I'll show you how we begin. So, and if your loved one or child couldn't do this part, you would do this part for them, and they would do the next part. So there is my gingerbread right there. And with these, you don't have to stick with the colors necessarily. That would be a gingerbread because that would be brown, and browns won't show up really great on black. So I'm not going to stick with the gingerbread color. But let's say I want some light blue. I'm going to just start on the edge and pull out. Almost like a sun ray. You don't want them to all be the same length. They just kind of extend as if each of your items are shining. That's why this is called Ultra Shiny Designs. So, all right, we'll start with the blue. The idea is the cookie cutter center remains black, remains dark, that negative look. So there is my blue of the cookie cutter, of the gingerbread. So I'm going to add a brighter color. I'm going to add a yellow. And this is more random, coming out. This is a very repetitive motion, so when my son was working on his, it was something, first he wanted to color the stencil in, but then he got the idea that it was extending off the end, and then you're practicing that motion over and over with keeping the boundary of the inside. So there's our gingerbread, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how it would be with using a stencil. I'm going to use the Christmas tree stencil. And I love sticky tack because it's so much more forgiving. It doesn't leave any marks or anything. Where Scotch tape, when you tape templates down and stuff, it can kind of pull off the first layer underneath. So we're going to go ahead and use sticky tack. And you can see on this one where my son went over the template, which is fine. I'm going to stick it down. And for your Christmas trees, you want to use greens and either a white or a yellow accent. So I'm going to go ahead and just start bringing it out from the center Here's the yellow. And some darker green. Okay, so now I'm going to remove the Christmas tree and you can see what is remaining. Okay, so your designs are just basically shining. This is one technique. I'm going to show you the next technique. The next technique is creating outlines around the shape, and for me, I think these would make perfect ornaments because you could cut them out and they're not quite as big as some of the shininess of the other ones. The others might be really good for cards or just regular designs. So let's do a heart. I'm gonna go ahead and trace this one with my white crayon. Okay, I have that traced. So my first layer around, I'm going to make orange. Just coloring in a few millimeters of space. And you can play around with the thickness. So this one is pretty thick. So I'm going to take a green and make just a line, a thinner line. Next. And now I'm going to take a pink and kind of go inward a little with this. Maybe it's little lines, like a design. And let's go ahead and put the year in there, because maybe we want to remember this and your child wants to cut it out and put it on the tree. So 2023 represented. So there's another option right there. Let's see if I can hold it straight up for the camera. Your design doesn't have to be super big or super large. It can be more like outlines. Okay, so let's do another idea, because whenever I have one idea, I get a ton that go with it. So let's take an angel this time. Typically your angels are shining yellow or white, right? So now let's create a pattern coming off. Let's see if I can peel this a little. Where I'm going to just put some triangles extending off my angel. So you can just the random lines, you can have outlines, or you can get a little fancier and create something that looks a little different. Okay, so there I have my angel and I have all these triangles coming off the edge. It looks a little confusing right now. It's going to get a little better. So I'm going to take this peach and then in between do some more lines coming out. So feel free to change it up, add your own flair. You could do more than 3 borders. Make sure this looks like an angel. Okay. Now there's my angel looking just a little bit more different with the designs on the outside. And let's do one more. Let's do a star. I'm really feeling the blues. Maybe let's see if the dark blue will look pretty awesome extending off. And now perhaps I want to make circles, dots in my design. Who says they have to all be lines? Okay, so there's another fun idea of maybe some starlight beyond your star. And the last thing I wanted to demonstrate was actually folding your paper to make the front and make a design on the front. So I have this fun ornament shape. I'm going to trace for that. In case you want to hand a Christmas card to someone at this point, your child or your loved one could help do this very simply. Okay, so there's my outline of my ornament. Let's get some purples and reds. And maybe I'm going to really like shade it in now as opposed to just lines. I have some lines are coming off and some are so small they're more like shading in. Take some purple, another layer of that. And I'm going to go ahead and use the white as a little accent here. Okay, so there's a really quick idea for a homemade Christmas card if you still have a few you want to hand out directly to people. And you can write a message on or a message inside and everything like that. So I wanted to show that to you. And then I wanted to show our designs from yesterday with Liam. It's really fun to make. Okay, so those are called ultra shiny designs. You can use templates from your cookie cutters. Trace your cookie cutters with a crayon like I did. Have fun with it, make it your own. The key is black paper, but maybe even a blue or a purple could work, you know? So change up your color of your paper if you want to be creative. All right, and the idea with that too is you can make a card or you can make an ornament, cut it out and put it on your tree. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the second craft idea, which is called modern textured trees. Christmas trees are so much fun to make at Christmas time, but it can get a little tedious, right? Depending on if you want to sponge paint a whole tree and then decorate it, or cut out a template and color it in with the crayon or paint. I have a simple hack and I want to show it to you. And this is why I call it modern. So you're going to need some paper, some white cardstock. I always like cardstock because it's the sturdiest, but if you got construction paper, you know, go with that, whatever you have on hand. You take your Elmer's glue, and if you've seen those like modern designs of a Christmas tree, they're just kind of like a swirl that starts up and comes all the way down. So with my glue, I'm going to go ahead and create a design. Okay, it's hard to see with the white right now, but I'm going to go ahead and take my green yarn. You're going to need green yarn for this and some embellishments to add on. I'm going to go ahead and start feeding it. And I'm not going to cut it till I get to the end because I don't know exactly how much I need until I get there. So you want to just put that yarn directly in that glue. You might get some on your hands because you do need to press it down into the glue. So when it dries, it will really be stuck to the glue. Liam didn't like this part as much because he was getting glue on his fingers. So in case you have sensory needs such as that, you can have your kid do the glue and you do this part. I'm a big fan of sharing the load in the art projects, and some things your kids might be willing to do and some not. Doesn't mean you stop. You just assist and you fill in the gaps. So I'm getting there towards the end. This takes a little bit of coordination, and you know, if you're working with your child on that, that would be perfect to feed the yarn through the entire span of the glue. And now that I'm at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and cut. And you will see, there's my tree. That's simple. That's the only green part of the tree I need. Now comes the really easy part, adding on some embellishments. So you can add on buttons, pom-poms, tissue paper, glitter glue. So I'm going to show a few of how I'm doing that, and I'll show you the examples that we created yesterday. So also you're just going to put your glue near the green as if it's a branch. And I've got pom-poms here, kind of big. I forgot my tissue paper squares, so I'll modify with something here. But I've got buttons. So whatever you have around the house, you know, it's the idea to utilize, add. I call them embellishments. And just the simple applying them where they're needed. This is the textured part of the tree. Becomes a little three-dimensional as you apply parts to it. Liam, I'm showing them our trees right now. I had some really big buttons. I had bought a big button variety set. So these come in handy for projects like this. And then I'm going to use some glitter glue. I only work with glitter glue. I do not work with glitter. So you can actually make things in the shape of an ornament, a circle, or kind of like an oval. Also, I'll show that example. Kind of hanging on the tree. And of course, this project will need time to dry before you gift it or hang it up or anything of that matter. Here I am making just a few different shapes. Ornament ideas. And one thought that came to me was taking some other yarn and perhaps making it like a spiral. So I'll explore that a little bit. Otherwise, tissue paper squares are great. I'll show you the example I have on my other one. But sometimes you gotta modify if you forget something. So, there's my little spiral. Alright, you can make a tree full of a bunch of yarn spirals or something. Modern textured tree. Very, very simple. And it's large enough, I feel, so it's not like small detail. You can work on more of the gross motor with your child. Here are examples that we made yesterday. And my first example wasn't as wide, so you can see you can make it kind of more dainty or a little bit spanning the whole page. Okay, and the last thing, if you don't have a star cut out or something, I just take my glitter glue and I make a little star on the top of the tree. All right, so we'll let this dry. And that's our second craft. All right, so moving right along to the third craft. I always like to create something three-dimensional. I think it's really fun when you can do that. So the idea came to me of presents. I'm like, how can we make three-dimensional presents, but maybe smaller, on a smaller scale, so it's not overwhelming. And I'll show you what we made yesterday. They could even work as little elf gifts, couldn't they? Small enough. So these are basically cube templates. They're going to be squares that I printed out. I'm trying to get the ribbon. The ribbon I just tucked in because it was kind of short. This one I put ribbon on after I did all my taping. This one I used yarn. Yarn's a little better because of the way it sits, you'll notice. But still, we decorated the outside of the cubes and then we cut them and put them together. So I'm going to demonstrate that with the ones that Liam decorated actually already. So this is what the cube template looks like, and you just Google, I can even put a link to it, the one I used, completely free. Print them out. You'll notice they have these little flaps. So that is to use your Scotch tape. You could glue. I use Scotch tape. It's a little faster and easier to put it together. So the first step is to paint or color in. Now Liam used sponge paint and painted these, so I can show an example of doing that as well. But I do want to cut this out and show you how it goes together. So you can have your child cut out after paints and everything dry, or you can do it for them. This does need somewhat precision, and I see here it's kind of hard for me to see over the acrylic, so acrylic paint, maybe watercolor might be better, something a little bit more see-through when it comes to your project, but we will figure it out. I'm just going to cut it out. I do feel that the folding, well, the folding's not the hardest part. So you could actually have your child work on the creases and folding it. The holding and taping it together is a little challenging. So your child might be the decorator and you might be the assembler afterwards. So the only thing I need to make sure is I know where the flaps are on this one. Okay, so it's going to look like this, and then we just start to fold it. I always fold the inside first there. And when I thought it would be fun, sometimes like my daughter likes little erasers or candy. Kids could put for their siblings, they could make these and put little trinkets or gifts inside. Get them involved in the gift giving process in a very simple and economical way, right? So you have a bag of candy or something like that. You could put a few pieces in also. Basically folding my edges. Should I have my Scotch tape on hand? Okay, so you'll notice you'll have these little flaps now. You just need to attach to the bottom with some tape. So everything is internal until the end. So all the taping will be done on the white. There's two sides, and it's not perfect. I'm going to fix that. Kind of line it up, because the more square it looks, the better, right? You won't have any gaping holes. Okay, and so then this one's going to come up. So for instance, here's a little dog eraser. I'm going to stick that inside before I close it, obviously. And then on the inside of the back, there's going to be two flaps. So that's the last of the tape I'm actually going to do on the inside. So take one little piece of tape. Make sure it's straight here. Oh, that tape didn't stick. On the inside. You gotta mess with it until you get it to stick. Reaching your hand in can be tricky. Okay, and then you get one little piece of tape for the outside. Just closes it so you know what the top is. You'll know the top is there. So there's my little square, my little present. And you shake it. And then I'm going to take some yarn. You can estimate a little bit longer than you might need. I would say about 15 inches, at least a foot. Now the way I do it is I start on the top. Oh no, is that right? Or do I start on the bottom? Nope, you start on the top. And then you go to the bottom and you twist. Oh, and make sure your string is in the center. And then you twist across. It'll make a little crisscross. Kind of hold it tight, but not too tight. Flip your box back over to the front. Carefully hold as you tie a bow. I would recommend not tying a knot so that it can be easily opened, but you know, if you have to tie a knot, you can just cut them. So, be careful not to push too far in. It'll go right in. So there's a little present. How cool is that? There's the one I created. Here's ones I created yesterday. I made these all decorative. Here, I'm going to go ahead and decorate one with you since I have time. Starting from the beginning here. So, I'm just going to use Sharpie markers. You could use washable markers, colored pencils. You can use paint if you make the time for it to dry, right? So let's just do some Sharpie, and we don't have to stick with things that are real Christmassy. So I'm going to make some big blue circles. Maybe some are colored in and some aren't. So this is the fun part, because you could print out 4 or 5 of these and your child make all different decorations, so all the boxes have their own unique wrapping paper, right? So now I'm going to make some hearts with just some simple lines. And sometimes you can gauge the orientation of your box, and sometimes you can't, and that's okay. Alright, now I'm going to make some green squiggles. Just squiggling. Like I need one more blue up here. And we just need some red triangles. All right, and I still think I need some maybe orange polka dots. So if you're working with your child on a certain motion, like maybe a circle, you could use the circle designs together. If you're working more on lines, I created one with just a line design. So maybe incorporate something that you're working on into your actual design. Are they working on writing their name? Maybe a letter. Maybe a first letter of their name would work. Okay. So I'm going to call that done, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. I actually have a piece of ribbon I will use to tie this one up, and you can use your scissors to curl the ends if you know how to do that. That's always fun for these little trinket boxes. This is just a perfect way to get the kids involved in something. So here's the cutout. Go ahead like I did the first one. Just folding. Folding the little flaps. And if this size is too small, maybe for your child's liking, look for some larger templates. Or see if you can make the template larger yourself by just doubling the dimensions. This was a little small for Liam, so he was good with the initial decorating, but the folding and stuff was a little challenging for him. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and tape the flaps now. First, the one on the first side. And then the back side. There we go. Kind of keep working with it till you get it. I'm going to go ahead and put a piece of candy inside this one. And now I tape the outside of the box. And I'm going to use my ribbon here. So we start at the top. Find the center. Start at the top. Turn it over. Meet in the center, shift directions, bring it back up, keep holding tightly but not too tight that you smash your box because they are kind of delicate, and then get that bow right in the center as much as you can. Simple bow, like so. And you'll be able to extend your 2 lines. And if you know how to hold scissors this way and curl, I'm kind of going to go with this one, the directions it's already naturally curling in. And there you go. And your kids can be surprised that there's something inside, or that their sibling made something for one another and have little things hidden. All right, so there's my 4 little surprise trinket boxes that are the 3rd craft idea for this holiday. Thank you for joining me. I shall recap of what we worked on. With oil pastels and black paper, we made ultra shiny designs, and these were a great idea. You can change it up a little bit, don't have to keep it just the same pattern, and perhaps even create a fun little ornament for your Christmas tree. And if you have any last minute cards you need to create, just fold that paper in half and voila. The second craft we worked on was the modern Christmas tree. Really simple way to represent a tree with just some glue and yarn, and then add all the embellishments that you have on hand to create a beautiful decoration. Let it dry, and then it can hang up. And here's our other options that we've created. And you know, if you were giving a card, you could make this a little smaller and put this on the front of a card you're going to hand to someone. It's going to be kind of 3-dimensional to mail, but it wouldn't be so hard to hand to someone as a decorative present. And then our final craft was using printable templates to make little trinket boxes to add little trinkets or candy, and especially a way for your kids to get involved and get into the surprise element of Christmas with one another or the family members. So thank you so much for joining me. You'll be able to catch the replay of this video until December 19th, and then it will become purchasable. So thank you so much for being here. I love sharing our creative ideas with you.